Hello everyone, welcome to this new video. And in the last video we talked about downloading Visual Studio Code or a code editor of your choice. I'll basically recommend you to go for Visual Studio Code because it's free as compared to PHP Storm by JetBrains, and just so you follow along in this video. Now before we move on, we need to get our local development setup or local development environment set up properly. And so what is a local development environment and what am I saying? So in order for us to develop web applications, we need to have a development server. This server processes this information with all this our code and makes the business logic, and everything works within it. So I'm going to explain this in a moment. For developing web applications, having a local PHP development set up allows one to develop and test their website or web application on one's own machine. Without this, one needs to push any code changes to a remote staging environment for testing, a time-consuming and inefficient process. Now, this might sound foreign, but just calm down. We're going to get to the grassroots in no time. Now, what I just said in this slide I just did was we need a sort of like a server, and in the server the code we write run, but for the code to run efficiently it needs some other supporting services. It needs a database service which has MySQL. It needs things like Apache, which is an HTTP based server. It also needs a Linux, which runs the command and serve as the operating system for processing these things, and it needs PHP itself. All right, so there is no basic way to explain this, and this is a basic concept. I'm afraid that you might not really get what this local development environment is until you start using it. So don't get started and don't scream right now. Just hold on a minute. We're going to explain this better when we start downloading it. Now, before I do that, I would like to explain the components of a local development environment, like the features. So a local development environment has a software stack, and for most PHP projects, it includes databases and web server in addition to PHP itself. Usually it's referred to an acronym called LAMP, L-A-M-P, and it stands for Linux, Apache, MySQL, and PHP stack. So that is what it is about. Like I said, Apache is a free open source HTTP server, and so we have MySQL, we have PHP, and we have Linux, which I have explained what they do some few seconds ago. And another thing we would have in a local development environment is our project code base. So this is the custom code that our actual application or website consists of. The code base will normally be held in a Git, which is a version control system repository, or stored locally on our computer. And also part of the components is environment configuration. So while the code base should be the same for production and local environments, there are numbers of settings that will differ between environments, and this includes database credentials, site URLs, ports, and many others. So by convention, these settings are excluded from version control systems and are instead held in so-called env files. In production, the use of env files is often discouraged for performance reasons. In this case, the values are instead directly made available by the environment. Now, there is two things, especially when you're developing. There is something called a local development environment and a production development environment. And so this development environment has what is called environment variables. And so, for example, when you are trying to install Stripe payment system on your platform, you have a real account and you have a sandbox account, a testing account. So when you are in a local development environment, the environment configuration differs. You don't want to start, because when you're making this integration in the first place, you have to test all case scenario to make sure users can actually maybe pay on your website. If you're using Stripe configuration, you have to make sure users could pay, right? Now the concept behind this is that the environment variables, or the secret keys, the API keys, you use to identify this sandbox account and real accounts are quite different, and it's been controlled by the environment configurations. And so when you are designing on your laptop, or you set this environmental variables different from what they should be when you get to production. And one other thing about, or component feature about the development environment is virtualization or containerization tools plus configuration. So virtualization or configuration is the method of choice for local development. And so we need the appropriate software installed on our local machine. So this includes tools such as image GD library, WebSocket or Socket Server, Redis or Memcache. And most of these tools do not come as a standalone installable or executable application for your PC. So in most cases, they have to be installed individually and customized to suit your development requirements. Usually, the easiest way to install this kinds of service is through containerization and virtualization. Now, this would make sense when we start working with a real development environment. So what this is that, say for example, you want to install WebSocket services on your project, or Redis or Memcache, which, yeah, of course, when you see the need of these things, you definitely would want them. But for now, just take it as a basic explanation. Or you need an image processing library like PHP GD library, all right? They don't have a plug and play installable application for Windows. Maybe also they don't have for Mac. I really cannot tell. So, but when we have a virtual containerization, or where we have a virtual machine, right? We can have these bundles. We can have PHP, MySQL, Apache, Redis, Memcache, WebSocket, or whatever, plug and play, and they bundle together in a single entity. Look at it as a single place for them all to be, and it's much more easier to manage, and especially when they are installed using this maybe command lines or things. But you can't just go ahead and install Redis on your computer or Memcache. So it promotes virtualization and containerization. So you could just keep all of these versions. Say you could have Redis in a version 2.0 and WebSocket in version 1.0 or whatever, or your GD library in version 0.1, and then you could actually put them in one container as it suits that particular website or web application need. And when you want to create yet another another software which needs or requires Redis of version 10.0, you could go ahead and bundle that. Maybe it requires PHP of version 8.2 or 8.3, or a WebSocket of version 10 with the new upgrades. Yeah, you could actually keep that as well. The previous one could be legacy, but you still have all of these versions correct in the same order. Yeah, of course, the version thing is important because when you are working on maybe PHP 8.3, you expected to use things with with a suitable requirement, version number with suitable requirement. Now I'll explain all of this, and I'm really excited to. I'm really fascinated that I'm going to do all of this explanation in no time. But let's get things started, shall we? So what development environment should we use? So I've gone ahead to mention what development environment is. We should be concerned about what one should we use for our computer. And so I'm here to give some recommendations. So for Windows, I'll recommend XAMPP or WAMP server or Laragon or MAMP, but MAMP is paid. And for Linux, I would recommend LampStack, Docker, or Vagrant. So whichever one you feel is comfortable, but for the sake of this video, we're going to be using the one that is highlighted here, which is XAMPP. So I'll show you how to really get started downloading XAMPP. One thing you should do is go online to Google and say download XAMPP. I think, yep. And you should click on that. I think it's available for the latest Mac OS, right? Yes, we should do that. Now, when you download XAMPP, it comes with the version of PHP you require. All right. So, whatever version you want to do is suitable, but I'd want us to start with the latest. Okay. I don't want us to start with 8.1 and yeah, because we want to stay updated with the latest trend. So whatever thing you're doing, just make sure to download the last on the list and other one with the higher numbers, right? Because most of the commands or functions or methods or class we are going to be running on PHP has to be the latest industry standards, and the one with a lot of support as well. So when you download the XAMPP, it comes with PHP in it, with Apache in it, and a lot of other things which you probably might not use. But so when you do that, the version of PHP is indicated here, which is 8.2.12. All right. So if you click on download, I think it should take you to this awesome website and start the download process, which thereafter you could install. And when you do, it's going to have some installation prompt, and it's going to come up with this, which is XAMPP control panel, right? And please ignore the number or whatever you see here. Mine could be outdated, but at the point where I'll start making use of it, I'll make sure it's in 8.2. I promise you that, because you can see when I installed this was 2021, which is quite a lot of time. So, but if we come to the XAMPP control panel, how to do that is after downloading and installing, you want to come here and click XAMPP, search XAMPP on your PC, and then you'd get this control panel thingy. So you see Apache comes and MySQL, and that's basically what we need. So if you download XAMPP, one other thing you would also notice is when you come to your command prompt. I'm just gonna open the command prompt real quick. Here, how did I do this? All right, I'm sorry, I need to show us so it doesn't seem like it's magic. I'm gonna search for command prompt. I think on Mac it's called shell, I think. Yes, and then I'm gonna do something real quick. I'm gonna say PHP -v, and now it gives us the version of PHP we are at. I'm using 8.1.12, but I'm just gonna make sure I update this to 8.2. But this shouldn't be of concern. Frankly speaking, I'm always like of an opinion of being one version below the latest, because the latest might not have full library support or extension support, or might still have some bugs which the contributors or developers of PHP need to fix. So I'd always want to stick with something like if there is an 8.2 build, I'd always want to stick with things like 8.1, but that's not a good advice. All right, so it's not a good advice. Just go for the latest, and yeah, and you'll be happy you did. All right, so that's pretty much it about this. One other thing I want to say is, my dear student or interested person, please don't watch this video on your phone. I'm sorry I have to say that. Like, I see a lot of people confusing this. A lot of people do these things wrongly. They watch programming tutorials or videos on their phone. Please don't. And even if you do, you're just watching this maybe to get the concept. But you see, when I say you have to download this, please, you have to. You don't say I will do it in the future. You pause the video and try to download it. When I say open the command, you try to do that. It's not I'm not trying to command you to do it. With due respect, I respect and love my students or people I'm trying to mentor towards this programming line. When I say these things, I expect you to do them because it would benefit and profit and help you. Like, this is the first command. If this is your first time you're interacting with a command prompt, this is the first programmer style command you're writing, and it's exciting. right, to see this. Now before you install this, let me give you an heads up. You might face challenges trying to install XAMPP. I've seen a lot of people who does. Now you also have to figure out how, and most of the time some people don't face challenges installing XAMPP and this thing goes fine. Sometimes you have to go to Google and try to say, hey look, I tried installing XAMPP and this is the error I'm getting, or you have to come to the comment section and I'll help you pass that blocker. Those are milestones. Those are things that make you better at what you are. Those are things that make you a better programmer. And I'm skipping that not because I cannot show you this, I can, but because I feel it's quite basic and I'm hoping you wouldn't have challenges installing XAMPP regardless. Why I say don't watch on your phone is the mobile phone is not a place you learn how to code or how to write code. Get a PC. No matter how small it is, no matter how less expensive or less fancy it is, get a laptop and do these things with me. Roll with me as I do this. All right. And that's it about this video. We're going to get our hands real dirty in the next video where we'll be talking about PHP syntax. See you on the next video. Bye-bye.